Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Burns, and I will be talking to you today about autism spectrum disorder. So, I want you to imagine, if you will, it is the first day of your new teaching job. You're super excited, brand new classroom, new set of students. You walk up and you notice that your classroom is in disarray. There are chairs that have been overturned. There is artwork that is ripped off of the walls. Desks have been shoved around. Your principal looks at you and says, well, one of your students has had another one of his episodes. And this student has autism spectrum disorder. He also has a very limited communication abilities. But we feel that you're strong enough and you're wise enough in your education and in your teaching to be able to get through and connect with this student. And so that's why we've hired you. So we've all been in that situation as an educator. And I will tell you that research has shown that teachers, especially of the elementary school age, are skeptical and are afraid of having a student with autism spectrum disorder, or ASD as we call it. They have heard tons and tons of misconceptions and myths surrounding this disorder. Most of them are just that. Teachers also lack the training that's needed to identify with these students. So I'm here today to inform you of the misconceptions and maybe help you gain a little insight and give you a little technique advice when dealing with ASD students. So most teachers have heard the misconceptions and myths on ASD. And I will tell you that they are just that. They are myths and misconceptions. The media is our worst enemy when it comes to these things because the media only takes the negative points of this disorder and publishes them out to the public. One of the leading misconceptions about autism is that students get it from a vaccination. And medically, that has never been proven. This was something that the media latched onto and ran with it. We have to remember when dealing with ASD students, or any student really for that matter, is that every student is different. Every student is going to learn differently. We have to find, as educators, that little niche that helps that student understand a vocabulary word, understand an easier way of spelling words, understanding an easier way to learn the alphabet. It's that simple. It's just finding different ways to go about doing this. I want you to take a look at this chart. This chart is from the CDC, and it shows a dramatic increase in the students with ASD over the last decade. This increase is due to campus diagnosticians and medical doctors that are now realizing and being able to test for students with ASD. Tests have changed over the last 10 years that allow us to better identify these children. They may be at one end of the spectrum and just have a few little symptoms of autism spectrum disorder, and they may be at the complete opposite end and be able to write a book about their disorder. So the second thing that I want to talk to you about is that educators a lot of the time lack the necessary training that's needed for being able to deal with these students. And when I say deal with these students, you have to work through the outbursts. They're going to get frustrated, especially the ones that are nonverbal or have very limited verbal communications. They're going to get frustrated and they're going to throw the first thing that they can reach. Usually it's a chair. Could be their pen, their pencil, their crayons, their juice cup for the little kids, because they don't know how to express what they're feeling. They could be feeling happy, but they don't know how to express it. So let's throw a chair. Let's throw our pen across the room, because that's the only way that we know how to express ourselves. Teachers see this as very intimidating. They don't want to have to deal with it. They are scared of it even. But with the proper training, or even just the proper techniques, a teacher can help mold this autism spectrum disorder student to be a fantastic student, to learn anything that can be taught to this student. Okay, but don't worry, I'm going to give you a couple of techniques to take with you. And then, the wonderful world of the internet, you can Google more of it. So one of the things that I have found that works in my classroom with autism spectrum disorder students is they have to have that little timeout area. So I have in my classroom, I have an area that is taped off. There's building blocks. There are Unifix cubes, which are the little cubes that we use for math that kind of fit together and we use them for counting. And they can build. There's a little art station in there. They can sit down and they can color a picture. And it helps them to express themselves a little bit easier. They can take that piece of paper and those crayons and draw me a picture of exactly what it is that they're feeling at that moment in time. And then I know. And then I can express to them how to better deal with it. Another thing that I like to do with the students that I have is a lot of autism spectrum disorder students have a little niche, a little thing that they enjoy doing. I have one, he loves to dance. So he knows that when he gets his work done, he can go over and he can put on the headphones and turn on the iPad and he can dance for a few minutes. But he can only do that if all of his work is done. So if you have an autism spectrum disorder child in your classroom, figure out what it is that really drives them. Talk to mom and dad or guardians to find out, hey, he really, really, really loves to sing. Great. Let's get a little microphone in here, and as soon as he's done with his work, then he can come over to this little area that we have designated as our singing area. You have to designate an area in your classroom, don't forget that. And he can sit there and sing for a few minutes, only if all of his work is done. So, in conclusion, please, please, please don't fall into the stereotype of believing these misconceptions and these myths. These students, like any student, are wonderful, caring students. They just express it a little bit differently than you and I do. So, please, let's educate ourselves to better educate these students to give them a fair shot in life. Thank you.